It's no secret that Cities Skylines 2 has a lot more work to do. When it launched back in October of 2023, it was rough, and I've made no secret of that. So, from its new features like bike lanes and bridges, to its ongoing, often game-breaking issues, here's Cities 2 in 2026. Truly a make-or-break year for the game, especially following Paradox's abrupt breakup with longtime Cities developer Colossal Order at the end of 2025. I liken poor old Cities 2 a lot to a smoking hot pile of garbage. Garbage in the sense that it doesn't really work, doesn't have a point, it's broken, ultimately rotten, so let's just put it outside, forget about it, it's rubbish. It was a smoking hot pile of said rubbish, not for the hot fierce attention it was receiving, nor because it was one of the most intense examples of a trash game. Neither of those are necessarily true. It was smoking hot to me because it's attractive. The idea of it being a decade in waiting to supersede its older brother, and arguably the most beloved city builder of all time, of course, Cities Skylines. It was, and remains, smoking hot because it looks attractive too. Let me be clear here, though, not in the I love the Eiffel Tower kind of way, but it's just a really good-looking game, I think. For all of the flaws, or straight-up lies in the simulation, more on those later on, I think it's a gorgeous city painter. One thing I love about making these videos, these Cities 2 videos, are the many hours that go in behind the scenes to get these little clips to plan, paint, and perform in a city. So over the last couple of weeks, I've been building a new city. This one. New city, right? New year, new me, whatever. To try and find a version of the game where, number one, I get to use some new stuff. And number two, the game doesn't crash. That part, particularly tricky, especially if you're in close proximity to a patch update, whether it be large or small. In Colossal Order's final breath, they finally brought bikes and bike lanes to Cities 2. The behaviour of said bikes, or the cyclists, is somehow worse than in real life. Much like the driver behaviour in this game, which remains terrible, and that is really saying something. Just as vehicles still pursue the wrong lane until the last possible or impossible moment, or simply disappear when traffic builds up or a turn is a little bit too challenging, bicycles are also pretty stupid in their behaviour. Their waiting behaviour, their give way behaviour, where, how, why they choose to ride. These two feel like a somewhat buggy, nonsensical version of what they both could and should be. But for now, as I say, let's keep trying to talk about the good and the bad that Cities has experienced so far. Again, Colossal Order's reign. Asset mods, another long-promised addition that Colossal Order managed to just squeeze out the door ahead of Paradox's quote-unquote parting ways with them. Much like the broader modding tools and the map editor here in Cities 2, the asset modding is certainly still in beta. If you try and use it too much, or in conjunction with too many other moving parts, or frankly anywhere remotely close to a patch update, of course, your game will probably struggle and probably crash. The latest paid DLC, yes, that has continued, just nowhere near the pace at which it was promised to do so, especially if you bought the Ultimate Edition. Well, it's skyscrapers and ports, and to be fair, these have more customizable buildings than we've seen before in this game. More customable than really most things that have gone by, and they're pretty fun to use. Personally, I think the ports themselves are a little bit too fiddly, but the overall vibes of the DLC are there, and it very much reflects the kind of development that we saw for Cities 1 across its, 10-ish years of development. In fact, something that still continues to this day for Cities 1. At this point, I think the DLC for Cities 2 is very much optional, and most people probably shouldn't buy it. One of the big issues is that they are still Cities 2 DLC packs. So they're late, substandard, and perhaps a little bit poorly performing, really, before they even get out the gate. Some DLC works a little bit differently, though. In fairness, 2025's region packs, these community creator-fueled packs, while delayed, are an awesome free addition to the game. You'll need tens of extra gigabytes of storage space to install these mods effectively, And in my opinion, the UI around them by default is atrocious, as the number of zoning options just flood the existing UI. But, again, they're pretty good. The reason why I'm not using them for most of the clips in this video, certainly for my new city, is because of the last spree of patch updates, which made the game fairly unstable over the holiday period. That's, of course, not at all unusual for a modded game of really any kind, in fairness to Cities 2, though it does feel like more of a problem here, because it's starting from a less stable state, and it can have multiple patch updates in a week when it receives love. But hey, it's 2026, and things have changed. Paradox dropped their ties with Colossal Order and found a new studio located centrally in the same city in Finland. It's uncanny. What are the chances that Colossal Order's replacement would be so close that you could probably almost walk your office chair around the block to your new job, should you be jumping from one dev studio to the next? In seriousness here, it feels like a little bit of a risk, but potentially, and maybe obviously, though I don't want to jump to too many conclusions, a calculated one. Or it could be totally inconsequential to the future of Cities 2, and Paradox's oversight of the development studios, both past and present. The key thing to know about Iceflake here is that they're handling all existing and future development of Cities 2. Notably from their FAQs, they say that this includes all future DLC, ongoing work on assets and the editor, and the console version. The what? I thought we were just sweeping that under the rug and pretending like we never promised it to everybody. Cities 1 has a thriving community on consoles, and while I'm obviously a PC guy, I have to admit, the console folk have really been shafted here, right? Let's be real. This is not about PC Master Race or anything. Come on. Join together on this one. They have clearly been shafted. They didn't even end up getting the broken game to complain about. In the same FAQs, it's said that the new developers were chosen because they bring, quote, strong experience in simulation and city building games, and has demonstrated the creativity, technical experience, and passion needed to take on the development of Cities Skylines. And these new developers, Iceflake Studios, have wasted no time in bringing Cities Skylines 2, anyway, to the front of their website. This is their game, they're working on it. If you're wondering where the rest of this technical experience, creativity, etc. comes from, the other two games on the list are Surviving the Aftermath, generally decent game, I haven't played it much, but I've heard mostly good things, as well as Ice Lakes, the ultimate ice fishing simulator. So, going a little off script here. I don't know. I don't want to premise something that could be amazing for this game by saying that this resume doesn't look very large, but this resume, it doesn't look very large. And jokes aside, objectively, there are just 3 games here, and one of them is Cities 2. I'm recording this video in January 2026. They have not released anything for Cities 2 yet. So, do with that what you will. It's also kind of interesting to note here that on Colossal Order's website, they also claim that Cities Skylines 2 is their game, still at the time of recording. It's been well over a month since the announcements were made, so I don't know. I mean, I'm not suggesting they're still working on it, they're clearly not. That has been made very obvious here. It's just one party is willing to move very quickly to take ownership, and the other is still talking about their rich legacy in developing Cities games, including Cities 2. So taking a look towards the future then, personally I'd love to see a change in the communications here too. Colossal Order's updates were so bogged down in PR speak, it was difficult to know what was going on. Sometimes people in the community felt like they were being blamed. The community was also increasingly toxic. It was a toxic soup, and I think that really needs to be cleaned out here. Too often bogged down with either toxicity or PR speak to get anything really useful out of them. The goal was always seemingly to say a lot while saying nothing at all. Commit to nothing and pass the buck. I understand that this could be very difficult because communications like this, when you're representing a lot of different interests, some of them commercial, many of them passionate, all of them real people, let's not forget. I understand that that can be really hard. And of course, there are other elements that might make it tricky as well, like a broken game, a continuing publisher, and communications strategies that so far haven't changed. At the time of recording, it has only been 2 months or so since the breakup though, and Iceflake are yet to give really concrete promises or announcements on how their development will be different. So in this space, it's a watch this space, subscribe, I'll update you when we hear more. Paradox have also not given any updates to the now defunct Cities 2 roadmaps for quite some time. We're probably all expecting to see much of the same structurally here for Cities 2. The first patch, 2026, February perhaps, major updates, and paid DLC to follow, launching every few months thereafter, thus keeping the gravy train going. At the moment, of course, the gravy train has been terrible for Cities 2. I mean, I have to imagine, I don't know. The focus is bug fixing here, probably performance improvements, and the gradual rollout of returning gameplay features from Cities 1, just as we saw over Colossal Order's 2-ish years of development. Think bike lanes, palm trees, and assets that can be edited or changed. Speaking of those assets, that feature, and most of the stuff that CO published and really pushed out the door at the end of 2025, is going to need a tune and cleanup, and that is going to take quite some time. Not just to fix the existing issues with these systems, the crashes, the instability, but to actually properly make them fulsome, real, and competitive at least with a game that's now 10 years old. Moreover, the performance of Cities Skylines 2 really still needs to be addressed. It has improved a little bit since launch, don't get me wrong, but it, along with stability, simply are not good enough. Both performance and stability will vary a lot based on your specs here too, let's not forget. Me with an Intel 12900K, an RTX 4090, I can run the city at about 50,000, maybe up to 100,000 people before the game becomes mostly unplayable. Unless I don't build anything, particularly not any service buildings or transport options. If I sit very still and on one speed, I can still kinda play, but for the most part, it's just not good enough at the larger end. And I know that Cities 2 is ambitious, if not experimental under the hood, but these issues can't just be dismissed as unsolvable problems. That is not a solution. Of the many controversies that Cities 2 has faced since launch, around its simulation being false, traffic disappearing, right, goods not moving properly at all, lies in the simulation, many of which are still there. One that I remember in particular was the time when it was found that Cities 2 was simulating details that were objectively totally irrelevant and really unnecessary for a city builder, while meaningful elements like that traffic and logistics weren't being simulated at all. In this case, it was tiny little individual teeth, inside of people's mouths that they don't open and you probably don't get close enough to see them anyway, while the game's traffic was a lie and the economic sim lacked detail and function. Not a good look, and one example of a missed priority, I think. Totally missed. My point here is twofold. Number one, the new dev, Iceflake Studios, have their work cut out for them. Really, sincerely, they do. And secondly, there has to be a way to optimize this game. There are wins available here, and it is still salvageable. Absolutely, no doubt in my mind. I should also note here that, of course, I'm trying to play on the highest possible graphics settings, and I'm trying to record clips at the same time. So, while my system is fairly beefy, I'm also putting it through a lot while it's trying to run an unstable and often poorly performing game. So, in my videos, it's fairly tense. Some of you have commented in videos like this in the past and said, actually, Jumbo, I can get like 200,000, 250,000 people, albeit at a lower resolution than I'd like to show you here. So if I haven't already made it abundantly clear, the foundation of Cities 2 is still shaky. Modding, asset mods, the editor, the actual simulation all still need a lot of work. The game is far from done. And by done, I mean ready and stable enough to act as a reliable platform to sell DLC for the next decade. Perhaps Cities 1 will actually never really die. Maybe we eventually see a future where Cities 2 just fades away, unable to be resurrected, too ambitious or broken or whatever adjective you want to throw in to work. Partly because it's difficult, deeply flawed, and partly because Cities 1 is just so damn good and accessible on many systems and almost every platform. Not quite Skyrim-esque, play it on your smart fridge, but kind of close, right? It's very accessible these days. But I don't just want to paint the negative Nancy view here, because there's also a plausible world where Cities 2 finds the success it deserves, making its way to console, and it genuinely works. And I think that a new developer is a good start. If we're talking about green shoots of growth or whatever PR buzzwords we want to use, this is one. To dodge the insanity trap, though, this new dev and Paradox really need to avoid just trying the same thing and expecting different results. And we need to see and understand if what they're trying to do will work. We need to visualize it. We need communication in order for them to regain trust and improve the reputation of Cities 2. I think we need to keep an open mind at least a little bit here, because one thing feels certain. This year will be the most important year for Cities 2 since launch by far. There's plenty of room for improvement, and right now, Cities 2 needs a lot of that. So, let's cut through the fat now and answer some of the common questions. Question: is Cities Skylines 2 good now? The answer: no. If you thought it wasn't good, it hasn't improved enough to be good now. Question: what will Cities 1 versus Cities 2 look like? What about that crucial question of 1 versus 2, old versus new? Is the sequel better? My answer is unfortunately still much the same: no. Cities 1 is still the definitive city builder simulation game in my view, and it's going to take some time for that to change. Question: so, does Cities 2 do anything right, Jumbo? And my answer is yeah, of course it does, and it has been improved. The beta modding tools, map and asset editors are vital for Cities 2. It's the Cities 1 community that has significantly helped to improve that game and keep it alive. So it makes sense that Cities 2 really needs the same tools and supports that that game has, preferably better ones. And I think that the free region packs are a good example, a good step that was made under Colossal Order's leadership. On the free updates side, while it's been a bumpy ride, bikes are in. Default service buildings have been added to. There's a slightly wider variety now of often buildings that have a smaller footprint. Much appreciated. More variety has also been added to transport services and city zoning here too. The DLC journey has been very, very mixed, mostly because of routine delays and pushbacks that have seen the Ultimate Edition buyers especially shortchanged here. For the most part, no DLC is necessary. If you want to be spending your money on radio packs, you're most welcome to. Perhaps the Bridges and Ports offers the most substantial content to the game, and that's probably the one that I would recommend if you're in the market. If you like radio packs, you're absolutely still in luck. For the rest of us, though, it was probably the Beachfront DLC that was a real win. It had a diabolical launch, and now that asset monitoring is in place and the Beachfront DLC is made free, we have seen substantial progress here. It's just never going to be good enough because, as I've said time and time again, the foundation isn't good enough yet. Skyscrapers DLC, which I'm using, you will have seen it in my new city here, I like it. But my buyer's guide for these packs remains unchanged. Generally, wait for a discount. Much the same with the base game, by the way. There's almost always a Steam sale within a month or so. As of the last one, I think the game was 30% off. I'd be very surprised if it didn't move towards a half-price discount by the end of 2026-27, and I would recommend you get the DLC at a half-price discount too. Again, if you're in the market. I do not recommend it, though. Let me make that clear. Not yet. Not now. It's not ready. If you haven't played a Cities game, you'll really get best value out of Cities 1. You should strongly consider that. And for now, that feels like the eternal problem for Cities 2. It's just not ready to take the mantle. But unlike previous Cities Skylines 2 reflections videos I've made here, these re-review videos, I have a slight, cautious optimism now. Cities 2 isn't there yet, but in 2026 it actually has a real chance at a fresh start. One thing that I've always thought Cities 2 excels at are its visuals. It's a fairly bare-bones game compared to its content-laden, well-running, efficient predecessor, but man, Cities 2 does look good in the process. I hope Cities 2 excels in 2026, and I genuinely wish Iceflake all the best. For now, I'll leave it here. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.